In this video, I'm going to show how to open a new file and set up a new file. So here I'm going to open the Etabs 2016. So it is opening a new file here. And we are going to get a screen like this. So here we are going to get one blank space, and at left side we are going to have the new model option and open existing model. So if you want to open a new file, then you can go for new model, and if you want to open an existing file or a saved file, then you can go for the second option. And whatever the recently closed files will be there, that will be opened here. Okay, and here the whatever the menu options are there, that will be activated after opening a new file. So to open a new file, click on this new model and we will be getting this window here, which consists of three options. So use saved user default settings, use settings from a model file, and use built-in settings with whatever the options we are going to define here. Okay, so since it is a new file, we can directly go for third option. Okay, if you have already saved your model, then we can go for second option. So under this model initialization, select the third option, and under display units, we have to select the type of units which we are going to apply for our structure. Okay, so I'm going to select the metric SI and steel section database. So as per the Indian standards, we are going to use our steel table, right? So that can be according to the Indian section database and steel section code. So we'll be using IS 800. So IS 800 2007 code. And for concrete design code, we have to choose IS 456 2000. And you can click on OK. And we are going to get this new model quick template. So there will be predefined templates in the Etabs. So whatever you need, you can just customize the template and you can apply on the screen and we can work on that. Okay. So here for this video, I am going to create a small grid and we will be working on that for the further videos. So here we are going to have the grid dimension and the story dimension. So grid dimensions is nothing but it will be indicating the plan, and story dimensions is for floor levels. So under grid dimensions, we are having uniform grid spacing as well as custom grid spacing. So uniform grid spacing is nothing but for the x direction, whatever the number of lines or the number of grid lines you need, you can define it here. And similarly for y line also. And if you want to give equal distances, then you can go for the spacing of grids in x direction and spacing of grids in y direction. So if I want to define only 3 lines in x direction and similarly 3 lines in y direction, and I want to give the distance as 4, and for the y direction I want to define it as 6. And specify grid labeling options. So it will be labeled as AA in x direction and 1 in y direction. Say for example, we are having 3 lines, right? So with respect to x, it will be showing AA, BB and CC, and for y direction it will be showing 1 1 2 2 3 3. Okay, so whatever number of grid lines we are going to give, according to that the labeling will be applied there. So if you want to change it for 1 1 or for y direction, if you want to go for AA, then you can change. And the order will be, for x direction will be left to right. If you want to define from right to left, then you can change it here. For y direction, it will be bottom to top. If you want to go for top to bottom, you can go for top to bottom. So let us go for the default values and check on the screen. According to your convenience, you can change this later also. So click on OK. And if you want to define the unequal spacing, then you can go for the custom grid spacing. So specify data for grid lines. Click on edit grid data. And here whatever the grid name you want to give, you can give, and you can further modify whenever it is required. So here you can see that x grid data and y grid data. So default ABC grids are defined in x direction, 1 2 3 grids are defined in y direction, and the ordinates or the distances of the grid lines has been specified here. So you can simply change them, and if you want to add, you can click on add. So right now I'm not going to add or edit anything here. I'm just going to cancel this. I'm going to apply the uniform grid spacing for this video. And under story dimensions, we are going to have the simple story data and custom story data. Simple story data is nothing but all the typical story height will be same. If you want to define different heights for different floors, then you can go for custom story data. Okay, so let us go for simple story data and whatever number of stories you need. For example, if you want to go for G+3, define it as 4. G+4 means 5. Okay, so just include all the number of stories or the floors and whatever the typical floor height you need. For example, I need 3.2 meters, so just define it. And bottom story height, that is up to foundation level or the plinth level, I mean from the plinth to the foundation level. Okay, so for example, if I want to define it as 4.5 meters, I can change this one. Like this we can define the story data, and this whole thing is applied for grid only as structural objects, so we are adding up the grid only. Okay, so if you want to work on steel deck or trusses, flat slab, so you have to select the required template, but right now at the basic level we are going to select the grid only option and click on OK. We can see the changes, or we can see the applied grid on the screen. And as I discussed the advantages already, we can see that two multiple windows has been applied, window 1 and window 2. Okay, in window 1 by default we are going to get the plan view like this. Okay, and as I discussed, for x direction lines it will be AA, and I mean like A, B, C, D, and similarly for y lines it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can see the 3D grid in the 3D view. So here we are having the XYZ axis. In the top view we are going to have the XY plane. So default the top or bottom plane is XY, and for 3D we are going to see the Z axis also. And since we have created a number of stories, we are going to get the plan view for the fourth story. Okay, and if you want to check all the heights of the floors, then you can click on this up arrow and down arrow. Okay, so here you can see that we are having move up in the list, and you can observe at the bottom left of the screen here. So if I am just clicking on the bottom arrow, it is showing the Z level as 10.9. Okay, if I want to go for the second story, then click on this and you are going to get the Z level as 7.7 story 2, and this can be seen in the tab also. Okay, so whatever story you want to navigate, simply you can make use of this arrow marks and you can move there. Okay, so if you want to draw a plan in the top view, okay, I mean for story 4, so simply you can use this arrow mark and you can go for the plan view story 4, and which is at a height of 14.1 meter. Okay, so whatever structural elements or geometry you want to go, you can just apply here, and whatever we are going to apply here, that can be seen in the 3D view. So in this way we are going to set up the grid, and in next video I am going to discuss about how to define the materials and the sections.